I'm not what you think I am.
Captain Marvel is the totally rad 90s superhero movie introducing us to Carol Danvers for the first time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's out March 8th, starring Brie Larson, but reviews are out right now. This is going to be a non-spoilery one, but we're also going to do a spoilery one on Friday, so you don't have to worry right now. And joining me for this all-ladies discussion is Angelique Jackson.
Thanks for having me.
In a bomber jacket.
Yes, we had to dress appropriately. We have to be an homage to Miss Carol Danvers.
Can I say I am an homage to Goose the cat?
It is lovely.
The star.
Goose. We love Goose. Okay, let's get into everything. Let's deep dive. What were your initial thoughts leaving the theater before we get into the nitty-gritty here?
So when I walked out of that theater, I was fully pumped. I was all higher, further, faster. I love Carol Danvers. I'm actually really into her as a character. Mm-hmm. I'm into the vibes that this movie gave me, the friendship. I think this is a good addition to the MCU. Do I think it's Best Picture? No. Do I think it's probably the best MCU movie? Maybe not, but it's a good one.
I think Carol is probably my favorite MCU character that I've related to on that level. Like, I love Valkyrie so much. I love the Wasp so much, but there was something about, like, her dry sense of humor and her wit and just, like, her stubbornness, which I really, really have. Like, everyone behind the camera is like, yeah, that I just related to on such, like, a personal level. And it was just, like, so 90s-centric, which I obviously vibed with so well. I had a smile on my face from start to finish, and I loved how linear it was. Like, it didn't bounce around between all these plots. And a lot of times when we're getting an origin story, I hate to say this, I kind of dread it. Because I'm like, there's going to be this lull and this, like, low point. And that doesn't really happen in this movie.
No, not at all. Because, like you were saying, with the way they tell this story, they try and go into, like, figuring out who Carol is by these, like, flashbacks. And in that, like, you're getting more of the detail about who she is, but instead of it being like, oh, she's a nobody with no powers, not interesting, and then she becomes this big superhero. It's like, nope, she starts out with her powers. She already is this established, superhero to some extent. She's really just a super soldier.
Right.
And then she becomes a superhero. So it's really that evolution versus just,
Yeah, it kind of goes, like, the back 2/3 and then fills in the rest along the way, which I really enjoy.
She just feels like the first human. I know, she's a Kree warrior, but
I know what you mean, yeah.
She's the first, like, human woman. Like, I don't really relate to Black Widow. I'm not a super spy, but I am a person that could have become a fighter pilot that maybe could have become a superhero. She just has this very grounded element. I think a lot of that is due to Brie's portrayal of her. I think she finds the humanity in this character in a very real way. And that's just, like, the basis of who she is. She's sassy, she's brassy, she's, smart, she's very talented, and it's just very organic.
People were asking about the humor in this movie overall, because I like her sense of humor in the movie a lot. Yeah. What I like about this one, though, it has, like, a dry wit to it.
That's a yes or no question.
Yes.
That the other movies... Every movie finds their own kind of humor and their own style, and this one is something different to me.
The only complaint I had about this movie was that it, for me, took a while to, like, land on that tone, because when, in the early parts of the movie, which can be confusing sometimes, she does start out as a Kree soldier, she's on Hala, her humor is, like, completely not understood by anybody on that planet. So it kind of is, like, off-putting to the audience, because you're like, oh, is she funny or is she not funny? Because no one's ever laughing with her. But when we get to Earth, you actually understand, oh no, they just don't, like, get Earth people. They don't get her Earth humor, and it actually ends up working really well, especially once she and Sam Jackson get together. Their chemistry is just through the roof. They're really good friends. This is their third time working together, and it shows. Their chemistry is just insane.
And in this whole press tour, you see them as a duo. They're doing interviews together. And I'm going in expecting this to be Carol's solo mission, but she really is in tandem with Sam Jackson, with Nick Fury, I guess we could say his character's name, this entire film. And I loved them as a duo.
Totally. It's nice that it's kind of a dual origin story. You get to figure out how Nick Fury became Nick Fury at the same time as you're figuring out why Captain Marvel was someone so important that he needed to call at the end of Infinity War.
Yeah, and just to touch on the de-aging effects in this movie, it's been off-putting to me in the past, where I know I am watching, like, a de-aged actor with, like, I don't know, it feels like a deep fake to me sometimes.
Yeah.
Watching this film, I felt like I was watching 1995 Sam Jackson.
Totally.
No problem.
And what was great about it, too, and I don't know if it's the technology or what, but you can see that the de-aging effect itself just worked, because both Sam Jackson and Clark Gregg as Agent Coulson, their de-aging was equally good.
Yes.
So they both just looked like, you know, this would have happened, and it actually came out in 1995, which is really, really well done. The whole entire look of the movie, just in general, captured that 90s look very well, and not in a way that felt like it was too much of a throwback. It just felt like, oh, no, we just, you know, completely nailed the production.
Yeah, I have minor criticisms. And one being, I am a sucker for nostalgia. Like, I love 90s nostalgia. I am weak when it comes to it. It worked on me.
Yes.
But there were moments where I was like, this is a little over the top.
It got on the nose a couple of times. There's a few lines that are a little, you know, they're a little lame. There's some deep, deep 90s references that you're like, oh, okay, we didn't have to go that far. I loved the Blockbuster.
Everything in the Blockbuster was great.
Because, you know, movie lovers and Marvel fans are basically the same. So we all remember going to the Blockbuster and watching and
being out.
Yes, exactly.
The main movie you went there for, and then I have to rent Scream for the 100th time.
I mean, but I would have probably been renting this for the 100th time, too. So it kind of works out.
That's true. Can I complain about one more thing? It's
Yes.
my only other complaint, I swear to God. It's the one thing that, like, bothered me a lot. She had perfect beach waves the entire movie, like, even during the fight scenes, and it drove me crazy.
It's problematic.
Because, okay, but the thing is, we had solved this with the Wasp. She had pulled her hair back. It wasn't in like a high, beautiful Ariana pony.
Nope.
It was
just like a normal
pulled
ponytail.
back. I'm gonna fight, and she had just beautiful, like styled like this, even mid sequence, being like, I mean,
like when
nuts.
she blows the hair out of her face in the train scene, you see that in the trailer, so not a spoiler at all. But just the idea.
Sorry.
Carol. You know, the Carol Danvers we see on Earth, she's a fighter pilot. Her hair is in a bun. It's the same length. I don't understand why Captain Marvel has to be blowing in the wind the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, she looks great.
The memory she couldn't get back was how to put her hair in a ponytail. I'm sorry, but
or maybe they don't have hair ties on Hala, because Minerva's hair is also like, you know, it's shaved on one side but just flowing down on the other.
Well then,
so maybe it's just a hair tie shortage. They could need a Target.
It drove me bananas. A lot of people were asking, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. Does it feel like a late ad or some kind of retcon situation in the MCU to have this story come up now, given that they kind of hint that she's going to be a big deal in Endgame?
Yeah. Well, it is interesting because when we were kind of deep diving into where this fit into MCU, we were talking about how it does feel like there's a bit of revisionist history with where this shows up, and kind of explaining how certain things came to be.
Yeah.
Even some of the, like, Nick Fury's origin story, the origin of the Avengers, kind of in general, they kind of touch on a lot of those things in this movie. But at the same time, there was a world where Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel was actually written into the early script for Age of Ultron. So this character could have shown up earlier. They just made the decision that, you know, they didn't think it made sense to have her show up in the Avengers before explaining who she was. So I appreciate that they made that choice, because, you know, you have Black Panther, where they introduce him in Civil War. They kind of explain a bit of who he is and what Wakanda is. But it's really Black Panther where they introduce the entire world.
Right.
So I think that's why it works that way. You can introduce the character and then broaden it out to the world. I do think if you introduce the character and just had her, like, pop up and be like, I'm Carol, wink, like, it wouldn't have been as helpful as introducing this whole character, understanding why she's such a big deal, understanding why Nick Fury would call her at the end of Infinity War, because before that you're just like, well, who's this? Who's, like, it's just another character. You now understand, no, she's the strongest, the most powerful. He's been waiting to call her until it really mattered.
I would say going into this movie, I felt a lot of that. Like, I was like, why are they just now going to introduce Skrulls? Because that just sets up a whole chain reaction of possible scenarios. And introducing her, who's, like, supposed to be this, like, you know, I guess one of the strongest, if Nick Fury's going to call her at the end of Infinity War. But I think the way that they explain everything and, like, why she's not around is executed really, really well. And I think people are going to be satisfied with that.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things you just have to just accept it until you see the whole movie and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that
We
works.
also don't know what she's going to do in Endgame. Like, I
Totally.
think, like, people are going in being like, she's going to be the one that's going to, like, go up to Thanos and grab his fists and throw him into space.
Yeah.
Like, no, probably not.
Probably not. No, it's still going to be a team effort. Like,
Yeah.
she's not just coming in to be like, move aside, guys, I got this. This
Yeah.
is not, Endgame's not Captain Marvel 2.
Yeah.
But they do set it up very well to just make sense as to why she was there, why she wasn't there. I am still curious, too, if the reason why we didn't get the Skrulls yet was because of this whole, like, Fox thing. Because Fox apparently owns the rights to the Skrulls.
Yeah.
But
then you introduce them, and then it's like, well, who's a Skrull?
Yes,
Is anybody a Skrull?
Well, that's actually another interesting thing. Like, okay, well now since the Skrulls can shapeshift and turn into other people, what does that mean about what's gonna move on in Endgame? Are we gonna see like Skrulls back on Earth? Like, are some of our heroes Skrulls? Now it just like opened the doors up to more questions.
It does. It opens a whole Pandora's box. This is like when they introduced time travel in Star Wars. Anyway, let's touch on some other characters really quick because a lot of people are asking, how was Goose the Cat? How was Goose the Cat? I don't want to give anything away, but Goose the Cat is amazing.
Goose the Cat was nice. She got a sweater.
I have a sweater. There's a reason I have a sweater. Let me just say. Goose the Cat's great.
Goose the Cat is amazing. Let's hit that fun fact about Goose the Cat, though. That is very important to you.
Oh, Goose the Cat in the comics is named Chewie.
Aren't you cute? And what's your name, huh?
Fury.
What?
But in this one, it's named Goose.
By the way, Carol is not actually Ash in disguise. She did not actually star in Captain Marvel, even though it seems like it's probably possible.
I'm a Skrull. And then Talos, played by Ben Mendelsohn, also amazing. There's a lot to that character that is really interesting, and Ben Mendelsohn should be cast in every franchise ever.
Absolutely. Honestly, Ben was the biggest surprise for me. I didn't know a ton about the Skrulls going in. I obviously didn't know a ton about Talos because the Skrulls haven't been involved in the MCU yet. So he was kind of the introduction for all of us into this character. He's the big bad, but he's also, just so brilliant in the way he executes this character. Using his natural accent was a choice that they decided to use. I just thought it was... He just tries to steal the show, which is normally Sam Jackson's role.
Yeah.
And he manages to do it so well.
I want to get into a bunch of spoilers, so will you stick around and do another video with me? Okay, so overall thoughts. Are we okay with this? Captain Marvel, final thoughts.
Oh, we are absolutely okay with this. Captain Marvel, while it is a movie that is going to make $1 bajillion at the box office, I know I said it's probably not going to be Best Picture, it's something that you should go see. I think that it's coming out on International Women's Day. It's a big move forward for Marvel having this first female-led film, and they don't really make that the focus of the movie. It's not the idea that, oh, well, she's so great because she's a woman, or she's so great in spite of the fact that she's a woman. It's just a fact. Carol was a, amazing fighter pilot, and then she becomes this amazing superhero. And that's all being a person. There are some great moments as a woman watching it where you can feel the themes and you can feel the power, and especially there's a great female friendship between Brie and Lashana Lynch's characters, who is Maria Rambeau.
Yes.
We'll talk more about Maria and her daughter in the next video, but those things in general just make you feel powerful, not just as a woman, but as a person. And that's why I see it.
Think you really hit the nail on the head with that entire spiel. That was amazing. Yes. I'm going to just wholeheartedly agree with you and leave it at that. Let us know what you guys think about Captain Marvel when you see it. And, of course, come back for the spoiler video because we're going to get into all those theories, facts, twists, turns, all those things. I'm at Ash Crossan. Where can we find you?
Angelique 814 on Twitter, and you can catch me sometimes on ETonline.
Okay. Thanks, guys, so much for watching.